Okay, we are live today. The link between stress and sugar cravings and how to biohack it. A study has uncovered a direct link between stress and sugar cravings, highlighting how stress hormones drive the desire for sweet, high calorie foods. And today we're going to look at it and how to biohack it. This is Biohacking News. So this is Biohacking News. Thanks very much for watching and listening. If you're watching live, great to have you with us as well. And before we go any further, please do like and subscribe. My guest today is an old friend, Erin Smith, the founder of the What We Crave Summit, focusing on the emotional aspects of eating and how to develop healthier relationships with food. Erin, how are you doing?
So good. I have perma grin right now because I just love jamming with you. So thanks for having me. So good.
Yeah, and look, I always love talking to you. We're in very different parts of the world, and I really appreciate you getting up this early because it's quite early where you are, isn't it?
Well, it's 7 a.m., but yeah, it's all good though. I'm ready to go. I've had my supplements, my coffee. Like, let's go.
Okay, good. Now, this news just in, Erin, before we get on to what we're actually going to talk about, Taylor Swift taking the world by storm at the moment. She's playing Wembley right now. I saw her in Lisbon a few weeks ago, and I finally found a way to crowbar Taylor Swift into biohacking news because she's been off to get a kebab in London. It's a chicken kebab from a 3-star hygiene rated restaurant, which I believe is average in terms of hygiene ratings, and experts have been ranking the nutritional value of this Taylor Swift kebab that she went to get after her gig in Kentish Town. So it's about 1,000 calories, and it was 55 grams of total fat, 11 grams of saturated fat. And how long would it take off to burn off a Swift kebab? Well, apparently Taylor Swift would easily burn it off during her 3-hour concert because she's on the go the whole way through. But what do you think of Taylor Swift's kebab, Erin?
Oh, I love this so much. Well, first of all, props to Taylor Swift because I just saw a documentary on her. She's one of the nicest humans ever. Like, props to somebody who has a soul and is kind in Hollywood and can actually be good to other people and not have this huge fame get in the way. Like, she's so down to earth and amazing, and freaking major shout out to Tay. But I will say, it's funny with these kebabs. Yeah, the way she dances for 3 hours. I mean, come on, like she's crushing those calories. But I would love to know in the UK, do they use seed oils? Because that's actually the biggest issue. I mean, I'm all about the protein. Give me all the grass-fed beef, steak. I'm way more carnivore. So I'm like, get all that protein, girl, because you need it. But are they using seed oils? Like, that's one of the biggest issues that causes the damage. And is the meat, using antibiotics and hormones and stuff? But most importantly, those seed oils are the kickers. So yeah, if I could tell Tay, like, hey girl, make sure just ask what kind of oil you're using in that, because that's going to jack up the inflammation in my body, and I got to keep this body going. So I would hand her some type of like tallow or coconut oil or something to swap it out.
Yeah, the problem is that in the UK, we love our garlic sauce with a doner kebab. And I've got a feeling that is not Primal Kitchen or Hunter and Gather with just avocado oil and, cage-free eggs and Himalayan salt and a bit of olive oil. I just got a feeling it's not.
Yeah, let's Tony, work on that, would you? Like, the world needs a little bit more of this info. So yeah. I know, right? If only.
You were asking the quality of the meat. I mean, no news on whether it's shish kebab or doner kebab, but I think there's a difference there, because doner, I don't know if you have doner where you are, Erin, but it's basically it's a big slab of meat that sort of rotates for around a week in the window of a restaurant. And then it's really nice at 2:00 in the morning when you're very, very hungry. Yeah. But you don't often see doner kebabs at a sort of paleo-inspired health optimization conference.
I didn't even know what that was, but man, that I bet you that might have some canola oil in there, but yeah. It's all good. One time isn't going to kill you, but yeah, it's such a hidden thing in our world today, which I know we're super passionate about. But man, when I remove seed oils out of my diet, freaking game over, game changer. Yeah, but really? Anyway, another topic. Yeah.
Well, no, we're good. Well, let's move from Taylor Swift. It's a pleasure to talk about her. And we were wondering when we went to her gig, we were thinking, how does she refuel for this? Because she is on the go the whole time. She must be eating bananas or something to get some energy in there. I mean, it's incredible how she's on the go.
Oh yeah, I mean, gosh, if I was her management team, I'd be like, "Girl, you need some Redmond's Relight salt electrolytes. You need protein. You need some minerals. Like, get your minerals up." I mean, look at what happened to Britney Spears. She was put on performance drugs because she had to stay awake for every freaking day for months, and now look at what's happened to her. If you could just fuel your body with what it needs. I mean, she could easily recover so fast. I mean, Taylor, I mean, she's young, but like, you do this year after year, your body just needs nourishment and support. If you just give it what it needs, you can crush. And I wish I could give her all the things that I know and just give her a little goodie bag full of stuff, man.
She's doing pretty well though. She's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
got a nutritionist with her.
I hope so, yeah. And I hope she
Yeah.
has minerals and salt and all the things she needs to keep crushing. Because yeah, the world needs more of that girl for sure. Not
Yeah.
music aside, I just think the way she is to humankind is so needed right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a real sense of innocence and joy about going to one of her gigs. And you know what's really interesting? Because I had never paid Taylor Swift the remotest bit of attention. But it's one of the few corners of the internet where if you see a post about Taylor Swift, everybody's so positive. It's really lovely.
I know, right? I think that's what we're craving because we see so many celebrities just being absolute assholes and the fame has ruined them. And
Yeah.
man, when you can just plug back into just freaking humanity, it goes a long way. I think, especially with the isolation on devices, cell phones, the younger generation, man, when someone can show kindness, it is like, it will change your life. Just one person, it'll change your life. So that's why I know that's at the heart of her success too.
Well, staying on a diet related theme and moving away from Taylor Swift, then we've
Yeah.
got this study. This is our top story today, a direct link between stress and sugar cravings. And this study from the Mayo Clinic highlights how stress hormones drive the desire for sweet, high calorie foods. And it suggests a few ways that you can sort of manage that stress. And I was really looking forward to talking to you about it because obviously you're the founder of the What We Crave Summit. And that is it. Well, it looks at addiction in general, doesn't it? But you do tends to look a lot at diet and emotional eating, don't you?
Yeah, we cover all the bases. And because most people think it's all about the food and it's so much deeper than the food, but you have to address the food you're eating for sure, which I can, what worked for me was game changer. It might not work for everybody because we're all at different places in our life and we all need different things. So my stress levels are going to be different compared to someone with 4 kids and a single mom. But the idea is digging into every layer of what's underneath, what are you really craving, and how to give that to yourself in the time and season that you're in. Because, everyone's stress is going to be different. And I think too many times the mainstream media puts everything in a box and we're all different. We have to look at every single layer, not just the food. Because I think there's a lot of coaches that are like, well, just eat this and just eat this. It's like, no. You got to look at the whole freaking picture and also all the things that have nothing to do with food. And that's often not integrated. So it's a full circle of solutions. Yeah. But
Yeah.
nutrition is huge for sure.
Yeah. And that sort of those words, stress and then emotional eating. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think so often in our biohacking world, people talk about the right diet and what to do to live to 180. We're going to talk a bit about longevity later on. But actually, often it's not necessarily about what you're eating. It's more about just sort of managing stress. And then that will mitigate what you actually want to eat or influence what you want to eat.
Yeah, there's a quote. It's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you. And I love that quote because, yeah, man, I was this freaking health nut, knew every protocol and every supplement and every biohack. And yet I developed a binge eating, stress eating, chaos eating, emotional eating disorder. I was disordered eating because I wasn't looking at the rest of what was eating me, the physical, mental, or the mental, emotional, spiritual. So yeah, it's definitely what's eating you. And then when you can actually get into that and release it, then the inflammation drops, the stress drops, then everything changes. It's an inside out job first. Yeah. And I was going outside in, but it's really inside out first. Yeah.
Right. So what are some of the, bearing all that in mind about the inside out job, what are some of the things that do help individuals overcome emotional eating? And I'm particularly interested in some of the trends that you see in the biohacking world, because Erin, one of the things that I haven't really said is you are one of the best connected people I know in the biohacking world. And
Oh,
as well as the What We Crave Summit, you're sort of, you work with on all sorts of different projects and entrepreneurial adventures with various biohackers. What sort of some of the trends that people are using to deal with this stuff?
yeah. Well, let's start with, well, whole body health is not just physical, it's mental, emotional, spiritual, right? But as the biohackers, we always want to like get the things that we can track our stuff, and it's the physical. And so for me, that's where I started. So I'll just, from what I've seen, I've gone to every conference. I mean, I have the the what do they call it?
The dubious distinction.
Yeah, and the Cliff Notes version of 15 years in the health optimization space. So the first one, from a device standpoint, there's number one, there's amazing ways to track your stress, but Aura Ring seems to be the alpha from a device standpoint. As far as actual strategies from a device standpoint to help with stress, another one like PEMF mats are amazing. Brain Tap. Sound chambers. That was a new one at Dave Asprey's event. Did you see that one? The sound
No.
chamber? That one was freaking epic. And I know you were just at the other health optimization conference too in the UK. There's grounding sheets. There's so many devices out there. But for me, I think it's, as much as any of these devices will help, sometimes we're still not getting to the root, but we need something to get our stress down in the meantime. And these are all great. What I learned on What We Crave is that you got to get to the root of your stress. And that takes a hot minute. But until then, there's all these amazing devices. Another one I think that's phenomenal. There's float tanks. Those are amazing. But some people don't have float tank near them,
No.
There is another one, like any EMF device, blue light blocking device, that shit. EMF and blue light will jack your shit up so much more than you will realize. And because mainstream it's just Wi-Fi, man, I'm telling you, over time, that will rock you. So anything that's going to protect from EMF and blue light, it's really, honestly, all these devices are just getting us back to primal human life. That's what it is. It's nothing. It's just clearing out all the shit that we've been buried with. That's what it is to me. And then another one, like from a supplement standpoint, I think from like a hack your physical, what I tend to see is, again, super simple. It's almost like too simple, but minerals, checking your mineral balance and your salt. Because for me, I was doing spin classes and beach sprints, and I was not replenishing with salt. And that stresses the shit out of your adrenals. And you're always just like this. If your adrenals are not supported with salt and basic minerals, you will be on push. You will be revving the gas pedal and the brake at the same time. And if you put that back in, your body can function. Another one, ashwagandha, GABA, 5-HTP. Those are amazing. And honestly, I recommend sleep is the ultimate hack too for stress. Get high quality sleep. Barton Scott upgraded formulas. Best sleep supplement I've ever tried in my life. I give it to everyone like it's Christmas, like Halloween candy. Like, please, this will change your life. Please take this. I love you. Nothing is as good as a good night's sleep because it affects everything in your life, including your cortisol. So having that is amazing. Like hacking your sleep is one of the ultimate biohacks. So if you can do that with that magnesium, game over. And another one is fixing your gut, because your gut is linked to your stress and your dopamine, serotonin. And then also, I think for me, my gateway into hacking Cravings was a superfood powder. Like my favorite is Nano Greens, but there's a ton. And then, furthering into more ancient healing strategies, there's like basic shit that seems like, oh, it's got to be harder than this. But how about acupuncture? How about getting a hug. Like Zach Bush is like, give somebody a 30-second hug and watch your stress levels drop.
Yeah.
Human connection, physical touch, getting a massage, any way that can bring you back, to human life before all this shit happened in our society. Also, more ancient healing strategies that have been around forever. You have grounding, put your feet in the freaking ground. That's got to be too easy. Hot sauna, cold therapy. Go walk in a forest and do a forest bath. Have you ever heard? I thought that was so hippie.
Forest bathing. Love that.
Forest bathing. Dude, you look into the scientific study of how that reduces stress. It will change your freaking life. Zach Bush always talks about this. He's like, nature's the ultimate biohack for stress. I'm like, no, that's so hippie. Like, no, it totally freaking is. He was totally right. Then you have, let's see, fresh air, oxygen, sunlight, having sex, someone else, with yourself, screaming, dancing, punching a pillow, like praying, from the emotional, like spiritual standpoint. Holy shit, that was the biggest piece for me. That's what I was missing. I was all on the physical and not focusing on the mental, emotional. And I know I'm going on a tangent, so stop me at any time. But the mental, emotional piece was the biggest piece that I was missing, that actually caused that was the root cause. It was causing me to eat the most. Because I was biohacking the crap out of my life and I was still binge eating. So I was doing all the physical and the supplemental, but I was still missing this huge piece of the pie, no pun intended. But it was slowing the fuck down, resting, sleeping, journaling my freaking shit of all my traumas, going to the trigger gym and working out my triggers, right? Those triggers are for you to work out, not to point the finger at somebody else. Working on my limiting beliefs, saying no more, making time for myself, and knowing and understanding my worth. So that's the ultimate biohack, is knowing your worth, because when you figure that shit out, everything changes around you and you will absolutely change the way you start living your life when you realize your worth. And that's a whole other conversation, but that's what I learned on What We Crave. That's the flag in the ground. But until then, you can do any of these are simple, little easy things that work in your life that you can do to just shed that layer of stress so you can get to the next piece. Then you shed another layer. It's not do all these things at once. It's just one thing at a time, and start where you start with the time that you have, with the budget that you have. But there's 1,000 ways you can do it. But that's what I learned is, some people are like, well, you have to do an hour of self-care in the morning. It's like, no, dude, I only got 5 minutes. Okay, let's maximize those 5 minutes with these 3 things that I can do with my budget and my time. Right. Yeah. And so then the layers start opening, and then the self-discovery path opens up, and then you go to the next level. It's like a little game of life, right? You're just constantly going to the next level.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because, you mentioned one thing there about getting to the root. And when you and I first met, it was at the 2016 or 2015 biohacking conference, one of those.
It was one of the first ones, I think. First or second. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone was drinking bulletproof coffee. They don't really anymore. Actually, it was around then that I started to sort of look at my own addiction stuff. And actually, all of the biohacking in the world, you could call it biohacking, doing the deep work, but all of the biohacking in the world, and even all of the NLP, which is the stuff that I trained in, didn't work as well as getting a really good psychotherapist. You know what I mean? And that's difficult because that costs money and it's not a quick process.
Man, that's the one thing in the biohacking industry I see is they're like, I just want to look at the physical. Don't talk to me about my triggers, because I can't track that shit. But tell me about how to hack my health. It's like, no, dude, the biohacking world needs a little bit of a come to Jesus slap. Like, no, it's inward, guys. Like, look at your triggers and traumas, because that's the never ending cortisol freaking beast that's like raging inside of you, and you get to that, and that's the root cause for sure. And sometimes it takes therapists, sometimes it takes journaling, sometimes it takes a lot of time in nature. Sometimes it takes leaving your whole life and starting over, but everyone's on their own path to figure that out. But as long as I think that that there's stuff that you got to deal with, you'll figure it out. But I know I listened to this To Be Magnetic with Lacey Phillips. That changed my life. It's a podcast that changed my life. She said that if you can get to that root cause, that's the most magnetic way to change your life, because your entire world will shift, because your entire internal world has shifted and you've cleared away all the blocks, and life will just keep trying to wake you up and pull the rug out, give you the rock bottoms, create the triggers, because it's trying to get your attention to look at it. And then when you do, then it's time to change that. All your life's doing is trying to level you up and get you to where you want to be. And until you address those, life's just going to keep like hitting you like, girl, look at this, please look at this, which is rooted in self-worth. Then when you look at it and dismantle it, then that's when your experience of life changes, because your experience of worth has changed. Yeah. And life's just trying to do you a favor by creating the addiction, creating the shit moments, because it knows that you want to be free of it. So it's like, let's go. Like, look at this, right? So triggers are the best mirror. And it's the ultimate biohack is diving deep into that for sure. I know that's not like what biohackers want to hear, but trust me, because I'm 43 and I've been around the block like for 15 years.
Yeah.
And it is like, and it doesn't cost any money to just go inward, right? But like, we don't want to do that. We want, give me the thing, the device. It's like, no, dude, you are the device.
Yeah, you mentioned Zach Bush.
Yeah.
And he was obviously speaking. I introduced him onto the stage last weekend in London, which was great. Great. I did. Yeah. A great thrill. And he did this incredible. I mean, it's really hard to explain what he said and how he went about it, because it was so emotional and so from the heart, and that you didn't have any notes or anything else, a few slides, but not many. But he was saying, I mean, certainly you mentioned the hugging. And, be careful. If 30-second hugs is your thing, you're going to get a lot of 30-second hugs from the audience afterwards.
I'm telling you, he's right, though. I remember Zach was like, just connect with nature. Just get your feeling around. Just do the simple things. Because he never really liked the term biohacking. He's told me that a few times. He's like, No, dude, it's just connecting to yourself and nature. And that's the only biohack you need. I was like, no, it's not true. It is true.
But, of course it is. Yeah. And actually, I have really struggled with the word biohacking. For years, I sort of resisted calling myself a biohacker and talking about it that much on the podcast, even though what I was doing was biohacking. But now everyone's using it. So I'm like, right, I've got to rebrand and make sure everyone knows this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. Whether Zach Bush or Peter Attia like the word biohacking or not, I don't care, because that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's a gateway. I mean, everyone wants to improve their health, and it's a great gateway. I mean, don't get me wrong. You get curious about, oh my God, how can I feel better, sleep better, perform better? Hell yeah, I'm going to tap into that for sure. But it's understanding that the real root cause is something so different. I remember when Zach started talking about, because I used to work for Zach, so shout out to Zach. Man, that guy is just one in a million. And
did you work for Restore?
Back when it was Restore.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, great.
I know. Ion.
What's it called now?
Ion. Mm-hmm.
Ion, yeah.
Which means intelligence of nature, and game changer gut product for sure. But, it was something about him that drew me to him, because you could feel his heart, and you could feel that he's so deeply connected to who he is. I'm like, fuck, that is just like a magnet, and that's what it's about. And I remember him telling me and speaking about, how the hell do we get connected to ourselves, right? Like, what does that even mean? And I remember he said, just go out in nature and stare at a leaf for an hour. And I'm like, you know what, Zach, come on, like, let's give me some tangents. Like, I don't get this, whatever. And then I finally, after years of going through my own shit, I'm like, oh, I know what he's talking about. It's recognizing your own freaking magnificence. That's what it is. And how intelligent your body is, and all the little things that happen inside your body on a day-to-day basis that we are completely disconnected from. Not to mention, you want to get an easy way to tap into like magnificence. We are floating on a ball in the middle of space, you guys. Like, you want to trip out on nature, that's how you trip out. And you realize that the same intelligence that created the world is inside of me. That's what started to I started to trip out on that. And no medicines, no plant medicines, no drugs. It was literally just me and nature tripping the freak out. And that's what he was talking about, is when you realize the divine intelligence that's all around you is you, you will start to go, frick, I'm here for a reason. I didn't just show up to just live life and retire and die. There is a reason I'm here. There's deep purpose, and I'm going to figure this out. And life's trying to get me to understand that I am the purpose, and that whatever I'm doing in this life has meaning. And I have the same power as the power that created this world. When you connect to that, that's the freaking ultimate biohack. And that's when it all changes. So that's all he was saying by go stare at a leaf for an hour. I'm like, okay, I get it now. So yeah, going down the rabbit hole there. But man, you listen to Zach, that's all he's talking about. And for a medical doctor who's been through, from cancer drugs to all these different therapies, to that's what it comes down to. And you can feel it. Something's up. You're like, okay, that guy's got something I need, like bottle that up and give it to me, but you can't. That's your own quest. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so that's the sort of really zoomed out scale. And then one of the things I wanted to talk about briefly this week is Dr. Kate Shanahan's new book is out. And I spoke to Kate a couple of weeks ago on this podcast. It's called Dark Calories. And it's all about commonly used vegetable oils. And you've already mentioned it, but I thought it was worth briefly talking about today, because the book's been out a couple of weeks. It's taken the world by storm. Very controversial, it's got to be said. I said to her after we recorded a podcast, you're quite brave to take on big food in the way that you are. And she was like, well, someone's got to do it. And that's me.
Hell yeah, Kate Shanahan. Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So props to Kate, because I remember she was in the Skinny on Fat documentary, which came out a long time ago. And she was talking about it then with her first book. And I remember this one hit me like a ton of bricks, because it contributes to emotional eating for sure, and cravings, which was, if you're going to pick seed oil, like food with a seed oil, or a cigarette, pick the freaking cigarette, because you have lungs that will filter the smoke. With seed oils, you don't have a filter. It stays in your body for 90 freaking days, and it just inflames your body. And seed oil is it's like you're drinking engine oil, right? Yeah. It's sludge, and it's like an inflammatory just response all the time. And that inflammatory response drives cortisol, it drives cravings. And when I was living in California and I was around all the health food and all the health restaurants, and I would just go out to eat because it's like, well, it's the same price as going to the grocery store for me in California. I would go to a healthy restaurant, and I would eat out probably 2 times a day because I was traveling a lot for work, but it was healthy restaurants. They were still using canola to cook their food in, either maybe half canola or half what, but they were still using it. Cause I remember just looking at my face going, why am I so puffy? I am Miss Health Nut biohacker, and I can't figure this shit out. Well, it was one, my stress from all my shit, but it was also the seed oils. And I look at, my gluten-free organic oat milk, freaking seed oils in it. Yeah. Oh, my keto healthy snacks. Oh, there's palm oil in it. Oh, anything processed has it in it, unless you make it yourself from scratch. It is around us all the time, even if it's just a little drop of it. It's like the Satan of freaking the food industry. Yeah. And she's right, man. I love it. I haven't seen her book, this one out yet.
It's amazing.
But Dark Calories, man, you want to talk about, and guess what? It's in all the freaking diet foods. It's in all the crap, processed healthy crap that we want to eat. Even, certain potato chips have these canola oils that say, it's a healthy chip. No, it's not. It still has canola. And man, it's like, we got to go back to nature and back to making our own food. And I remember, because when you do, that's when it changes. Right. And I remember this one doctor I was following, she said, do you know the best way to hack your aging? Get rid of seed oils. And they're like, stop worrying about the freaking topical creams. Get rid of the seed oils and watch your inflammation drop. So guess what I did? And I was like, shit, just even the little bit.
Really?
Just the littlest bit changed my freaking face. Well, I don't know if you saw the photos of my before and afters, but man, it was like puffy, inflamed face.
I did see. Yeah.
Kind of just defined, just from, because I would have a little bit of the oat milk in my coffee with a little bit of MCT oil, and I would like froth it up, make it all yummy. And then once I just switched to full fat coconut milk, and I make this insane, amazing coffee shake. It's full fat coconut milk, fresh organic espresso, colostrum, Paleo Valley's bone broth protein, some natural vanilla, monk fruit sweetened vanilla, and yeah, I think that's it. It's like ice. It's like coffee ice cream. Way better than the gluten-free oat milk crap I was drinking, and my inflammation just whoop. So yeah, it is. It's the ultimate game changer. And you know what? Too, going carnivore is an easy way to get rid of the seed oils, because if you're like, well, I don't want to get rid of my fill in the blank, just eat more freaking grass-fed beef and steak that's cooked in tallow or coconut oil. And it's an easy way to swap out and still get the fix your cravings that you're craving, but just do it with more protein.
Yeah, a couple of questions on that actually, because when we first met, and that was talk about the changing trends in biohacking. You were keto. Are you keto now?
I would say no. I'm definitely more carnivore, even though like I'm all about, as long as it's whole food with higher protein, that's what I'm about. Yeah. But it ends up being a little bit more carnivore and a little less keto, but still like fat and protein are the key. It's just,
and how many steaks a day?
It's more protein than fat. You know, I'm not a steak person, but I will eat grass-fed burgers every freaking day, 24/7. So I eat at least a pound of grass-fed beef a day. Well, I also do CrossFit, hot yoga, cold plunge. I do weighted vest, rucks. Like, I'm very active, but I crave a pound of grass-fed beef every day with an egg on top. I make a little lettuce wrap burger. I've never you want to hack your way to dropping your stress, feeling amazing, losing weight, skin issues, gut issues, and making peace with food and feeling like food does not control you anymore. Just eat more grass-fed beef. I'm telling you, it's a gateway for sure.
So that's really interesting. So actually, why is that? You just prefer the ground mince to a steak? You just prefer it?
I don't know. Yeah, there's something about, I've just always been a burger girl, just like some people love steak. It must be the texture and like the experience of a burger. My body just craves it. So again, it might not work for somebody that that's not their jam, but they will freaking eat a steak every day. Like Dr. Sean Baker, he's constantly eating steak. And I'm like, give me a burger all day with a fried egg on top, a little bit of avocado and a lettuce wrap, maybe a little bit of bacon. But yeah.
And just finally on the Hateful Eight and these dark calories, obviously it is really striking a chord, and it particularly does strike a chord in the biohacking community. And I'm always interested because I know what I'm like, which is I'm not the most extreme in our world, but I try to avoid seed oils. But sometimes it's just hard. For example, I discovered the other day that the frozen garlic that we buy in the supermarket is 99% garlic and 1%, God knows why, sunflower oil. I was like, oh, it's 1%, it'll be all right. But actually, I might be ditching that at some point.
Even though we think, oh, it's just a little bit, that's like saying, oh, it's just a little bit of poison. Oh, it's just a little bit of gasoline in my water. Like it's just, once you understand how toxic they are, you will not touch that shit. And yes, a little bit, it's not like, it's not the end all be all, but man, it's just in everything. And we're getting hit with it on top of EMFs, on top of blue light, on top of stress, on top of being disconnected from nature. And it's just, if you can really dive into those top things, man, you can change your life so fast.
And what do you do when you go to a restaurant?
Well, I always ask them, what do you cook your fill in the blank with? Number one, I actually don't eat out that much. I cook from home like 90% of the time. And because again, everything's seed oil, you're kind of like, I don't want to touch that anymore. And then if I do go out, I will ask them, what do you cook your food in? And some of them will say olive oil. Some of them will, say canola. And I'll just eat whatever I can. Like, just give me a plain patty, like with some, I go, can you guys just give me a plain patty with an avocado on top? That's all I want. They're like, what? And I'm like, just do it. And, but now there's actually restaurants. Ben Azadi had mentioned this. There's restaurants where I think there's a little app I forgot what it's called.
It's called Seed Oil Scout.
Yes. And where you can find out which restaurants are not using seed oils anymore. I'm like, yes, we're making progress. Let's go. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is excellent. Now, before we go, we're going to do a biohacking review. I haven't even asked you about this, so I don't know what you're going to do. But what is a biohack that you like? It could be some tech, it could be techniques, it could be a supplement, it could be a gadget, it could be a primal practice. What do you want to review today? This is our separate little episode. Obviously, people watching live will get this live, and then some people will get the little biohack. What are you going to go for?
Oh man, there's so many. You ask a biohacker that, they're gonna be like, struggle buzz.
I
Okay.
know, I know. I mean, obviously, you mentioned some of the grounding stuff. I thought was we didn't even get a chance to dig into it, and the EMF mitigating stuff. But
Yeah.
what sort of what springs to mind?
Man, you know what? This always comes first because without it, you're kind of screwed with
Mm,
stress and cortisol and eating. The ultimate biohack, I feel like for me, that changed my life first the most was sleep and using upgraded formulas magnesium. That's how much I am obsessed with it. And that's how much
wow.
it changed my life. Because if you sleep, everything else gets better. If you don't sleep, everything that you're doing goes to shit, no matter if you're trying to biohack anything. It's just, you have to sleep first to get the ultimate human. You have to be able to sleep. So that rest is a weapon, man, and to get you to where you want to go. So shout out to Barton. It's and I don't get paid to say this. It's literally one of the best
Mm.
sleep supplements I've ever used because it's just absorbing into your cell better than most, and it's a really high quality product.
Can we just dig into a little bit what it is, because people will find this if they're googling it. Well, because I love taking magnesium, and I love the Bioptimizers magnesium and their sleep breakthrough, by the way, with GABA in it. It's just amazing. But
Yes.
and I do know Barton. What is it that's so special about his product for you?
Well, from what I've interviewed him and from what I've just learned is the quality of the product, but it's the size of the actual it's the size of the particle that is,
Mm.
I don't know how many times, 100 times smaller than the cell. So you just absorb more, so you get better results. And again, I think there's amazing, like BioOptimizer is amazing. There's some amazing sleep products out there. Don't get me wrong, but that's just the one that I tried that changed my life. So I'm always gonna hype that because I have the personal experience with it. But it's just it absorbs better. And with supplements, it's not what you're taking in; it's what you're absorbing. And so it's kind of like one of the alphas, I would say, in the industry for absorption, and it sells itself. That's why his company's exploding because it's an amazing product. Um,
Do you apply it topically or do you spray it in the mouth?
it's just a capsule, and
Okay,
you
okay.
take like two before you go to bed. There's actual. It's that one has clinical. There's a clinical trial on it, and if I could, my phone's dead, but I would pull up the actual stats. Like there's reduction, like clinical improvement, sleep, mood, reduction in stress, like reducing anger, like all this stuff that it's on the website. You can check it out. It's it just sells itself. And yeah, you take two before bed, and I will sleep the entire night and just wake up feeling refreshed, like I don't even need coffee. So
Oh,
that's, you do that, life, you're immediately ahead of 99% of the population. And then
that's great.
there's so many more, but I'm really struggling. But yeah, we'll just leave it
Well,
at that.
just on this one, I mean, it's really interesting because I have had something similar with sleep breakthrough, to the extent that, and I think I must be deficient in GABA or something. But last night, first time in about 2 months, I didn't sleep very well, and I accused my wife Faith, who I said to her this morning, I was like, "Did you put 2 scoops of sleep breakthrough in my drink last night, or one?" And she was adamant it was two, but I didn't sleep very well, so I don't know why. But the worrying thing for me is that I feel like I'm a bit dependent on this supplement now. I don't want to be, but it's just the way it is. I actually think that I'm sort of quite, maybe I am a bit deficient in GABA, but I'm a bit jumpy overnight sometimes. And something small to help you take the edge off and fall asleep and stay asleep is really lovely if it works.
Yeah, well, I hear you on the becoming dependent because that's I've been there. But you know what? Magnesium is responsible for thousands of mechanisms in your body, and we're constantly depleting our magnesium from stress and just human life in 2024. And what modern day man, modern day life, modern day civilization, you're just burning through your minerals. So when you just plug back in and fill up your mineral tank, you can sleep. So it's really, there's days where I don't take it and I still sleep well because my mineral tank is full, but it's not really becoming dependent. It's just making sure your gas tank's full, just like we would with a car.
Mm.
And he has a mineral test on his website. You can actually take it and you just snip some hair and send it in, and you can see where you're deficient. And then they have all the minerals available to give you what you need to fill up your gas tank so that it's balanced, so that you can have your health, because that is minerals are the baseline for health,
Mm.
and GABA, all that's like absolutely critical too.
Yeah.
But you've got to have the minerals in place for all the functions in your body. So,
You just reminded me of something really funny. When you and I were at one of these first conferences, and we were with Ryan Carter, at Live
Yeah.
Vitae. And and I'm speaking to Ryan later today. It's going to be on a future podcast. And Ryan got one of those hair tests from, I think it was Quicksilver. I can't remember who it was from, at the Biohacking Conference with Dave Asprey, 2017 or something like that.
Yeah.
But they did the test so badly that they just chopped a massive chunk out of the back of his hair.
Lucky that was a dude, not a chick, because we'd be like, yo, you owe me some hair. But I know. And Quicksilver's a great line too. Like
it might not have been Quicksilver, but yeah, the Quicksilver products are great. Yeah, the liposomal ones are really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once you know the top kind of brands in the industry, you can win so many ways. It's not like, well, I have to do this specifically, but just it's once someone makes it easy for you to be like, just take this and do this, you're like, thank you. Okay, I'm on my way. And that's what I love providing people is there's 1,000 products. What's the best? Like, just tell me. And it's my greatest gift because when you have your health, you have everything. And when you don't have your health, you lose everything. I mean, there's a quote, the healthy have a million wishes and the sick only have one, and it's like, once you have your health, man, that's the ultimate biohack to life. I feel like.
Oh, totally. And I guess that's why I do this. Yeah, that's why we do it. Erin, so lovely to talk to you. We got to go. Where can people find you?
Oh, you're so sweet. I'm on the Instagrams at That Health Chick, but my emotional eating summit's free at whatwecrave.com. If you want to watch it, it's available to watch for free at any time. But yeah, that's it. So I just appreciate you and just lifting me up and getting all this information out in the world. And you've always just been such a gem. And even the second I met you, when you sat down next to me, I'm like, who is this guy? He's just a nice freaking human. Thank you for just being you and for your passion and for everything you're doing. I know podcasts are a lot of work and I have ultimate respect for any podcaster, and just keep doing what you're doing. You're just crushing. And I'm so blessed to call you my friend after all these years.
Erin, and likewise, Erin. Totally. I just realized I didn't even get a chance to ask you what a fuck it moment is.
The fuck it moment. We all have it. Or our brain shuts down. We say fuck it and we eat all the things. Yeah, that's what it is. The fuck it moment. Like, it's going down. My stress is so high. Fuck it, I'm eating everything. That's what the summit is about. It's about how to hack the fuck it moment. So there you go.
Awesome. Okay, if you want to hack those fuck it moments, make sure you go and check out Erin Smith. Erin, thank you so much for coming on Biohacking News. Let's do this again soon. And thank you everyone for watching. And we'll speak again very soon.